Vodun is one of the most feared and misunderstood religions in the world. For centuries, it has been caricatured by outsiders, dismissed as dark, dangerous, or demonic. Its spirits have been demonized, its rituals twisted into horror, and its followers pushed into secrecy. Yet beneath these layers of ignorance lies a deeply sacred spiritual system, one of profound beauty, complexity, and power. Practiced by millions in West Africa and across the Atlantic, Vodun is not a cult of shadows. It is a religion of light, balance, and divine law. To know Vodun is to unlearn much of what the world believes about it. At the center of this misunderstood faith is Legba, often reduced in pop culture to a trickster or devil, but the true Legba is far more significant. He is the opener of gates, the guardian of crossroads, and the messenger between the human world and the divine. Every ritual, every prayer, every communion with the spirits begins with him. Without Legba, nothing moves. He holds the keys to every door, both seen and unseen. Who is this powerful being that commands such spiritual centrality, yet remains so misrepresented in global consciousness? Then there is the question of Vodun's journey. How did this sacred system, rooted in the soil of Benin and Togo, travel thousands of miles across the Atlantic to reshape the spiritual identity of Haiti? What threads connect the shrines of West Africa to the ceremonies of Haitian Vodou? And why, after centuries of oppression and erasure, does this tradition still live on with such strength and purpose? These are not questions of folklore, they are questions of legacy. Vodun is not a fossilized belief of the past. It is a living, breathing spiritual system built on centuries of oral wisdom, divine communion, and ritual integrity. It speaks of gods and spirits, of balance and healing, of justice and initiation. It teaches that life is sacred, that nature is alive, and that humanity is forever in relationship with the unseen. To explore Vodun is not to dabble in the mysterious. It is to enter one of the world's most sophisticated systems of cosmology and sacred order. This is the story of Legba, of Mawu, of the Vodun spirits and temples that still pulse with divine presence. This is the soul of West Africa. At the pinnacle of the Faun spiritual world stands Mawu, the great mother of the cosmos, the divine architect of all creation. She is not a god of war or wrath, but of compassion, order, and light. In the beginning, Mawu brought the universe into being with grace and equilibrium, creating not just the physical world, but the spiritual laws that govern it. Yet she does not stand alone. In Faun cosmology, Mawu is often paired with Lisa, her male counterpart, creating a divine duality that reflects the balance of opposites. Mawu is the moon, cool and nurturing. Lisa is the sun, fiery and assertive. Together they represent the unity of all things, the masculine and the feminine, day and night, strength and gentleness. This duality is not a conflict, but a harmony, a sacred dance that underlies the Vodun understanding of life. Mawu and Lisa do not rule the world through direct control. Instead, they set the cosmos into motion and established a spiritual hierarchy, delegating power to a vast pantheon of Vodun spirits, each with their own domain and personality. These spirits, or Vodun, are not distant deities but living forces who interact with the world daily. They govern elements of nature, thunder, rivers, fertility, the harvest, as well as human affairs like healing, justice, and initiation. Some spirits are fierce and commanding, others gentle and guiding, but all serve under the divine order created by Mawu. This structure mirrors the rhythms of nature and society, where power flows through relationships and balance must be maintained. Within this spiritual ecosystem, every being, human, spirit, or natural element has its place and responsibility. Vodun teaches that the universe thrives on interdependence. The spirits must be respected and honored. In return, they protect and guide. Humans are not at the center of the universe, but a part of it. They are accountable to both the visible and invisible realms. This understanding of cosmic order is not rigid, but moral. Harmony is the ultimate goal, and disharmony, whether through disrespect, disobedience, or neglect of ritual, invites chaos and suffering. When floods, droughts, or disease strike, it is not merely bad luck. It is often seen as a sign that the moral and spiritual balance has been broken. Vodun's moral framework is woven into everyday life. Justice is not just a legal matter, it is spiritual. If someone cheats, steals, or harms others, they may not face immediate punishment from the state, but they risk retribution from the spirits or ancestors. In this sense, every action echoes in the spiritual world. People are taught to live with humility, responsibility, and reverence for the forces that sustain life. Elders and spiritual leaders serve as guides, not just in ritual but in ethical conduct, helping the community align itself with the cosmic order Mawu has established. Mawu herself is rarely worshipped directly because her essence is too vast and encompassing. Instead, she is honored through her creation, by respecting the spirits caring for the earth and living in harmony with others. Her presence is felt in the cool of the night, the rhythm of the seasons, and the breath of life. She is the still point in a turning world, the wisdom that undergirds all Vodun practice. To understand Mawu is to understand that the Fawn cosmos is not chaotic or malevolent. It is divinely ordered, rich with meaning, and alive with presence. Every ritual, every spirit, every act of devotion points back to her original design. In this world, the sacred is not distant, it is everywhere. And at its heart is Mawu, the mother of balance, the architect of spirit, and the soul of creation. In the spiritual universe of Vodun, no conversation with the divine begins without Legba. He is the gatekeeper, the intermediary who opens the path between the human and spirit worlds. Without his blessing, prayers cannot reach the other spirits. No ritual can commence, and no sacred message can be heard. Legba is not just a figure of transition, he is the embodiment of movement, connection, and communication. Every crossroad, doorway, and threshold belongs to him. It is through Legba that the sacred becomes accessible, and through him that the divine speaks back to the world. His role is both powerful and delicate. As the youngest of the major spirits in Vodun lore, Legba has the agility and wisdom to mediate between forces greater than himself and humans who seek their guidance. He understands the languages of both realms, translating divine intentions into human terms and delivering human petitions to the gods. His presence ensures balance, and his invocation at the start of any ritual is not mere formality, it is essential protocol. He does not just open the gate, he keeps the gates from collapsing under misuse or ignorance. Yet despite this sacred role, Legba has suffered one of the greatest misrepresentations in Western interpretations of Vodun. Through centuries of colonization, enslavement, and Christian demonization, Legba was cast as a devil-like figure, twisted into a demonic trickster in Western imagination, particularly in media portrayals of Haitian Vodou. His connection to crossroads and duality was distorted into a symbol of deceit and danger. But in reality, Legba is not malevolent. He is wise, patient, and necessary. He demands respect, not fear, and responds best to those who understand the weight of sacred access. Rituals dedicated to Legba are rich in symbolism and carefully observed. His colors, often red, black, and white, mark his presence at shrines and ceremonies. Offerings of palm oil, tobacco, liquor, or cooked food are made at his altars, often placed at doorways or open spaces that represent passage. Before any major Vodun ritual, a priest or priestess invokes Legba, pouring libation and reciting incantations that ask him to open the spiritual paths and protect the process. It is only after Legba has acknowledged the request that the ceremony can proceed to the other spirits. In possession rituals, Legba is often the first to arrive. When he descends into a human vessel, the shift is immediate and electrifying. The possessed individual may speak in an altered voice, dance with distinctive movements, or deliver messages from the divine. These moments are not random. They are signs that the spirit world is listening and that Legba is guiding the exchange. The experience of possession is sacred and structured, overseen by spiritual elders who know how to interpret and manage the presence of divine forces in the human realm. Legba is not only a deity of ritual, he is a deity of daily life. Every time someone makes a choice, especially a morally or spiritually significant one, they are standing at a crossroads. Legba is there, not to push or tempt, but to present the possibilities. He offers access, but never demands direction. The choice is always the supplicant's to make, and the consequences always follow. This makes Legba not just a messenger, but a mirror, reflecting back the desires, intentions, and truths of the human soul. To understand Legba is to understand that every path, every prayer, every spiritual breakthrough begins with relationship. He is not a trickster to be feared, but a sacred ally to be honored. And in his keys, the entire Vodun cosmology swings open, not with force, but with permission. Sakpata is one of the most formidable and revered spirits in the Vodun pantheon. As the Lord of the Earth, he governs not only the soil and its fertility, but also the diseases that arise from it, most notably smallpox, plague, and afflictions of the skin. His domain lies in the thin boundary between life and death, health and suffering. He is both feared and honored because his power extends to the deepest vulnerabilities of the human body. In Vodun belief, Sakpata does not merely cause illness. He reminds humanity of the sacred pact between people and the earth. When that pact is violated through disrespect, greed, or negligence, Sakpata responds with consequences that are as terrifying as they are instructive. Despite his fearsome reputation, Sakpata is not a malevolent spirit. He is a force of balance, justice, and necessary correction. His afflictions are not punishments in the vindictive sense, but responses to imbalance. In this way, disease becomes a form of divine communication, a sign that something has gone spiritually or morally wrong, either with an individual, a family, or an entire community. Through ritual, confession, and offering, it is possible to appeal to Sakpata for forgiveness, healing, and restored harmony. This dual role, as both afflictor and healer, places Sakpata in a uniquely complex position within Vodun. He is not only the terror of the sickbed, but also the hope of recovery. The relationship between Sakpata and his followers is shaped by a rigorous system of taboos. These prohibitions are not arbitrary, but are designed to maintain spiritual order and personal discipline. Certain foods, behaviors, or contact with specific animals may be forbidden for devotees, depending on their level of initiation or the nature of their connection to Sakpata. Breaking these taboos is seen not only as a personal failing, but as a spiritual offense that can trigger illness or misfortune. Priests and priestesses of Sakpata are trained to recognize these signs, interpret their meanings, and guide the afflicted toward appropriate remedies and rituals. Ritual offerings to Sakpata are serious affairs. They often include cooked food, white cloth, and sometimes animal sacrifice, depending on the gravity of the situation. These offerings are presented in sacred spaces known as Haunfor, or in outdoor shrines linked to Sakpata's energy. Drumming, chanting, and possession may accompany the rites, especially when healing is sought. In possession ceremonies, Sakpata may descend into a chosen individual, speaking through them to deliver insight, correction, or consolation. These moments are emotionally intense, reflecting the deep psychological and spiritual stakes involved in healing. The love-fear relationship with Sakpata is foundational to his worship. He is not a spirit one approaches lightly or casually. His devotees respect his power deeply, maintaining strict ritual practices and moral behaviors to avoid invoking his wrath. But within that fear is also deep love, a recognition that Sakpata is a protector, a restorer, and an enforcer of sacred law. To love Sakpata is to live with a heightened sense of responsibility, knowing that the earth is alive and watching, that every action carries weight. In Vodun, Sakpata serves as a profound reminder that the body and the spirit are inseparable, that healing requires more than medicine. It requires reconciliation with the divine. His presence ensures that health is never taken for granted, and that illness becomes a path not just of suffering, but of learning. To honor Sakpata is to live in reverence of the earth, to walk carefully, and to remember that all life depends on the unseen laws beneath our feet. Among the pantheon of Vodun spirits, Ayizan stands with quiet authority as the guardian of markets, sacred knowledge, and spiritual initiation. She is not loud or forceful like some other spirits, but her influence runs deep, especially in matters of trade, social order, and priesthood. Ayizan is the spirit who oversees commerce, not only the buying and selling of goods, but the ethical foundation on which fair exchange depends. In this role, she protects vendors, mediates disputes, and blesses the flow of wealth when it aligns with community well-being. To invoke Ayizan is to seek wisdom in economic dealings and moral clarity in the face of temptation. Ayizan is also the first priestess in Vodun cosmology, the original initiate who holds the secrets of ritual, tradition, and spiritual transmission. She is central to the process of Kanzo, the formal initiation into the Vodun priesthood. Her presence sanctifies the journey of the novice, ensuring that only the worthy and disciplined are allowed to carry sacred knowledge forward. In this way, Ayizan acts as a gatekeeper of spiritual truth. She protects the integrity of the Vodun tradition, filtering out falsehood, arrogance, and those who would exploit sacred rites for personal gain. Unlike some spirits who possess devotees during ceremonies, Ayizan is rarely known to enter human vessels. Her presence is subtle, profound, and felt more in the silence between the drums than in the frenzy of possession. When she does make herself known, it is often through dreams, intuition, or moments of deep insight. Her communication is reserved for those who seek understanding, not spectacle. She favors those who listen more than they speak, those who preserve rather than consume. Her colors, often white and silver, reflect her purity and her connection to sacred mysteries. Ayizan's domain also extends into ancestral memory and oral tradition. She safeguards the stories, chants, rituals, and lineages that define Vodun identity. In societies where history has often been transmitted through word of mouth rather than written texts, Ayizan becomes the living archive. To honor her is to respect the elders, to learn from the past, and to commit sacred truths to memory. She is the spiritual thread that weaves generations together, binding the living to the ancestors and the initiated to the uninitiated. In the marketplace, Ayizan is not just a protector of trade, but a moral force. Markets in West African societies are more than economic centers. They are social and spiritual hubs where the community converges. Ayizan ensures that these spaces remain just and balanced. Theft, deceit, or exploitation are considered not only offenses against people, but transgressions against her divine order. Vendors may pray to her for good fortune, but they are also reminded that prosperity must be earned with honesty and service. Initiates of Ayizan are expected to embody her values: humility, clarity, and devotion to truth. They undergo rigorous training, learning chants, rituals, herbs, and the responsibilities of spiritual leadership. To serve Ayizan is to protect the soul of Vodun itself. These priestesses and priests do not chase power for power's sake. They become stewards of culture, healers of spiritual wounds, and preservers of ancient wisdom. Ayizan reminds us that power lies not only in command, but in restraint, not only in visibility, but in knowledge passed quietly and faithfully from one soul to another. She is the guardian of what must never be forgotten. Through her, Vodun maintains its depth, its discipline, and its sacred continuity in a world too often hungry for speed and spectacle. Vodun temples are more than places of worship. They are living centers of spiritual activity, ancestral memory, and divine presence. Known as Haunfor in many communities, these temples serve as the dwelling places of spirits and the heart of Vodun practice. Within their walls, the line between the human and spirit worlds is not blurred, it is crossed. Altars draped in color-coded cloths, ritual objects imbued with sacred power, and drums that echo the heartbeat of the divine, all make the Vodun temple a place of deep transformation. It is here that gods descend, devotees are healed, and the unseen becomes real. Every Vodun temple is overseen by a priest or priestess who has undergone rigorous spiritual training and initiation. These leaders do more than officiate rituals. They maintain the order of the spiritual household, tending to the altars, keeping taboos, and ensuring the spirits are fed and honored. The temple is not just a place to visit during crisis. It is a constant center of life, offering guidance, protection, and structure to the entire community. People come for divination, healing, blessings, and counsel, not from blind faith, but from generations of lived experience with the divine forces residing there. Trance and possession are central to the temple's power. During major ceremonies, when the drums begin to roll and chants rise into the air, spirits are invited to descend and temporarily inhabit the bodies of chosen devotees. This is not viewed as metaphor, it is direct, literal possession. The person in trance becomes the spirit, taking on its voice, movements, and energy. Spectators do not witness a performance, they experience a divine encounter. For the Vodun practitioner, the gods are not distant myths. They walk, speak, and act through the flesh of the faithful. Possession is not chaos. It is sacred protocol. Trained spiritual leaders guide the ceremony, ensuring that each spirit is properly received, each message properly heard. The body of the possessed is respected as a vessel, and when the spirit departs, the person is cared for and restored. These moments are emotionally charged and spiritually dense, filled with revelations, instructions, and sometimes confrontations. They are moments of realignment between the human and the divine, where healing can occur and fate can be redirected. The spiritual power of the temple is anchored by ritual rhythm. Drumming is not just music, it is language. Each rhythm calls a specific spirit, and each dance step reflects a sacred narrative. When these elements combine, they open the portal between worlds. Offerings are made, sometimes food, sometimes drink, sometimes animals, all tailored to the preferences of the specific spirit. The temple, in these moments, becomes the bridge between the seen and the unseen, and the entire community gathers to bear witness and participate. What sets Vodun apart is that its gods are not silent. They are not confined to ancient texts or distant heavens. They speak directly, act clearly, and demand relationship. The temples ensure that this relationship is maintained, that respect is shown, and that the spiritual balance of the community is preserved. This is why even today, in villages across Benin, Togo, and beyond, these temples remain vibrant, not relics of a forgotten time, but sanctuaries where the divine still moves among the people. In Vodun, the sacred is not abstract. It has voice, rhythm, breath. It possesses and teaches. Through temples and trance, the Vodun spirits become more than stories. They become presence. And for those who witness this power firsthand, there is no doubt the gods are alive, and they are here. The story of Vodun does not end in West Africa. It sails across the Atlantic, carried in the hearts, memories, and spiritual resilience of the enslaved. From the kingdoms of Dahomey and the Fan homeland, Vodun traveled through unimaginable suffering, aboard slave ships bound for the Americas. But even under chains, the sacred was not abandoned. It lived in whispered prayers, in hidden rituals, in the silent knowledge passed from mother to child. And it would eventually rise again, transformed but not broken, in the form of Haitian Vodou. In Haiti, Vodun fused with other African traditions, Catholic imagery, and local spirits to become a new but deeply familiar faith. The saints of Catholicism became symbolic masks for the Vodun Lwa, allowing enslaved people to continue their devotion in secret. Yet the core structure remained unmistakably African, a supreme creator, a pantheon of powerful spirits, a priesthood, rituals of possession, and reverence for the dead. The gatekeeper Legba remained central, still opening the way, still standing at the crossroads. His image may have changed, but his essence endured. Ayizan, too, crossed the sea, retaining her role as guardian of sacred knowledge and initiator of priesthood. In Haitian Vodou, she is honored as the mother of the priesthood, invoked in Kanzo rites to bless and protect those entering spiritual service. The drums, the dance, the ritual rhythm of West Africa found new life in Haiti, connecting a shattered people back to their spiritual homeland. In the resilience of Vodou, one sees the determination to remember, to reclaim, and to survive. The diaspora did not dilute Vodun, it expanded it. Today, echoes of Fan spirituality can be found not just in Haiti, but in Brazil's Candomblé, Cuba's Santeria, and even pockets of the United States. Each version carries the fingerprints of the ancestors, shaped by new lands and histories, but always pointing back to the original source. The spirits did not stay in Africa. They moved with the people. And wherever Vodun is practiced today, it remains a testimony to a faith too powerful to be erased. Through fire, bondage, and exile, Vodun lives on, not as folklore, but as legacy. It is the sacred memory of a people, still pulsing with divine rhythm across continents. Vodun is not a religion frozen in time. It is a living, evolving tradition that continues to guide, heal, and empower communities across West Africa and the global diaspora. In a world increasingly detached from the sacred and the ancestral, Vodun remains grounded in the earth, in memory, and in lived relationship with the divine. Its spirits are not relics of mythology, but active forces that walk with the people, respond to their cries, and uphold the delicate balance between the seen and unseen. As modern life races forward, Vodun offers something rare: spiritual continuity, rootedness, and reverence for the sacred in all things. What makes Vodun remarkable is not only its endurance, but its ability to preserve truth under pressure. Through colonization, slavery, and relentless misrepresentation, the essence of Vodun survived because it was never dependent on books or institutions. It lived in practice, in community, in the rituals that still pulse with the rhythm of the ancestors. This is a legacy not of defeat, but of sacred resilience. To understand Vodun is to recognize a system of knowledge as vast and complex as any world religion, one that honors nature, respects the dead, and teaches that true power flows from spiritual harmony. Today, as people around the globe search for meaning beyond materialism, Vodun's wisdom offers a deep well to drink from. Its teachings on balance, justice, healing, and ancestry speak to a universal human longing to belong, to be protected, to walk in purpose. Whether you are of African descent or simply drawn to ancestral spirituality, Vodun invites you not just to observe, but to listen, to respect, and perhaps to remember something ancient within yourself. The spirits are not distant. They are here, waiting, watching, whispering through time. If this story has opened your eyes, moved your spirit, or sparked your curiosity, don't let it end here. Help amplify these voices. Like this video to support the preservation of living traditions. Leave a comment sharing what moved you, what you learned, or what questions you carry forward. And subscribe to this channel if you believe that sacred wisdom should never be forgotten. The gods are not gone. The ancestors have not vanished. They speak still, through us, through ritual, and through every effort to remember what the world once tried to erase.